Hey everybody, welcome back into the Direct Selling Accelerator podcast. My name is Sam Hind, and in this session today, we're going to be covering off on the 5 things that you do not want to have missed, the 5 biggest changes on Facebook in 2020. Now, it doesn't take very much for you to know that Facebook has made a lot of changes. Let's just face it, 2020 as a whole has been a huge year of just whatever goes. But one thing that I will say is in all of my years of working with Facebook as a platform, Instagram as a platform, in everything that we've done, in all of the learning that we've done over the years, in all of the teaching that we've done, I have never, ever seen as many changes as we've seen this year. Now, I don't think that's a coincidence. There have been some of these changes that have rolled out purely because of the season and time that we're in. But some of them, unfortunately, were already ready to go and they just kind of fell right in the mix of everything that's going on. So let's dive on in. We're going to talk about the 5 changes that are going to affect all of you. Some of these are really exciting, some of them not so much, and some of them, well, they're just going to take a bit of time to get used to. But let's dive on in. All right. So what are the 5 key changes that have happened this year that are going to affect each and every one of you in the direct selling industry right now? Well, there were loads of things that happened on Facebook and Instagram in 2020. So many that I could be talking on this for a couple of hours. But we don't have a couple of hours, so I'm going to spend time just focusing on the 5 key things that I think are really, really going to make the greatest effect for you right now. Now, a few of them are really obvious, so we're going to start with some of those. The first one is the move to FB5, which is also known as New Facebook. Now, by now, most of you, if not all of you, will be permanently using the New Facebook. There was a period of time that we could toggle between old Facebook and new Facebook, which gave us a chance to kind of get used to the new layout. And some of us embraced it and some of us just went, you know what, I'm just going to stick with what I know. For those of you that chose to stick with what you know, you're probably in a bit of a sore spot right now. You might be a bit frustrated because it's likely that you are stuck with the new platform and you're probably trying to navigate and find your way around. Well, don't fear. The general consensus is that most people do, in fact, find the new Facebook, once they're used to it, a little bit easier to use. It's cleaner. The problem for most people, though, is that everything has moved. Most features, are still there, except some have disappeared. So do be aware that there are some changes. You're not going mad if you can't find something. There are some things that have gone off with the old Facebook. They've been thrown out with the old Facebook, so you may not be able to locate them. But if you're jumping into the new Facebook and you're not able to locate something or it's not where it used to be, it's quite possible it's just moved into a different location. So for those of you that are in our Quick Start course, you will notice a brand new module appeared in there a couple of months ago where we actually walked you through the new Facebook and where everything is. So if you are in our training currently, that's all there. Make sure you go and watch that new module because it will help you navigate your way around both your personal profile, your business page, and your groups. Something that I do want to make you a bit aware of, though, is that there are always changes happening on Facebook. I'm kind of stating the obvious here, I know. But one thing that is currently an issue for a lot of people is the fact that things are disappearing that Facebook's trying to phase out. One of those things that has disappeared on both personal profiles and business pages for most of you is polls. So I know some people have been really struggling and frustrated with this because you guys are used to using polls, you love using them. Well, Facebook, because of a few things that have been happening recently, some conspiracy theorists, some people really putting their opinions out there, Facebook has decided to kind of take a little bit more control over its platform, and it has temporarily, we're hoping it's temporarily, removed polls from personal profiles and business pages. It isn't known yet if this is a permanent change. However, what we do know is that polls have come and gone over the years. They have disappeared and reappeared in all sorts of weird places. So we don't know at this point if this is a permanent change. But if you're wondering, am I going crazy? Where have polls gone? It's possible you're not. So this is something, again, I know not everyone has lost. Some people still have it. So just be aware, if you're one of those people, it's quite likely you currently don't have access to it anywhere but in groups. Okay, so number one was the move to FB5, which is the new Facebook. Something to be aware there is that Facebook's popped a huge focus in new FB5 on communities and stories. So Facebook is really focused on healthy community. It's all about connecting people. So it's really using this new layout to do that. And it's also trying to create a cleaner, more modern feel that's less busy with less craziness going on. So once you get used to it, I'd love to hear how you find it. But I think you will find that once you've got used to it and embraced it, it will start to feel a little bit easier. Okay, that then moves me into number two, which is the new Creator Studio. So in the past, you've been able to post to your business page or even your group using the standard Facebook publisher. Well, that's kind of moved around a little bit now. So if you are going through the Facebook website, so facebook.com, and you go to your business page and you go to put a post up, you can still do it, but you will be missing quite a few features. So if you're thinking, why can't I schedule this way? Why don't I have a whole bunch of the features that I used to be able to access here? Where have they gone? Well, it's because they're trying to get you to use the Creator Studio for all business posting. So this is where you can schedule your posts, you can access and use drafts. There's a whole lot of creative tools in there as well. So the Creator Studio is really where it's trying to push people from a business perspective. So if you're wondering where stuff's gone, if you're wondering why you can't schedule through facebook.com, it's because you need to go to the Creator Studio. It will give you the link there to do it. But I do recommend, like anything, to make life easier if you find it hard to navigate to these places. Once you get there, save the URL. Create a little tab on your computer so that you can easily click on your page's Creator Studio and just go straight there anytime you want to manage your page. There are some really cool features in there. I actually, like a lot of people, you sort of grit your teeth when something new comes out and you think, oh, here we go again. I've got to learn something new. But I've actually come to really like Creator Studio, and most of the people in our courses have given that same feedback, because once you get in there and have a look around, there's some really great little features that we didn't used to have. So although Facebook's made some changes that challenge us, it's also given us some new things as well that are going to help us in the long run. So I do encourage you, get out and have a bit of a play. The easiest way to learn is get your hands dirty. So go have a little bit of a look at the new Creator Studio, and fingers crossed, Facebook doesn't make any more major changes to facebook.com on PC for a little while. So just to backtrack a little bit, there was a change as well on mobile phones. That one came out last year. So Facebook's actually rolling these changes out slowly over time. Probably not all that slowly, but slowly over time. So it did change its mobile phone interface last year. It's now changed its desktop interface. We warned you that this was going to happen. A lot of people have forgotten about that because they got kind of comfortable. So it's a really good reminder just to be aware that Facebook is constantly adapting, and it knows it has to, because otherwise it's going to disappear into the never, never. So it's got to be adapting. So be prepared for the fact that these changes are going to come about, as frustrating as they may seem from time to time. Okay. Now, there has been another change that has come about, which is a bit more controversial. And this is one that is to do with Facebook's terms of use, terms of service. This one became active on the 1st of October. And I know that when it got announced, there were some opinions around this one. So I'm going to read out what they have added into their terms of service. This is what it says. We can remove or restrict access to your content, services, or information if we determine that doing so is reasonably necessary to avoid or mitigate adverse legal or regulatory impacts to Facebook. What does this mean? Well, basically, it means that they're allowed to, at their discretion, remove anything that they want. And the reason that it is believed that they're doing this is because, particularly with coming up to elections in America, off the back of all of the controversy that happened around the last election. We've talked about that a little bit before when it came to that Cambridge Analytica scandal with the misuse of data, the brainwashing, all of that crazy stuff that went on. We're not going to get into it now because, again, controversial topic. But because of all of that, Facebook has realized that in order to protect itself, it also needs to protect the content you put up. So it's basically saying that it has the right to remove anything it wants to, but it's specifically looking for any censored or political information that goes up and conspiracy theories. So right now, there's a lot of concern around the conspiracy theorists, particularly where it comes to COVID. And so Facebook is doing its very level best to protect itself first and foremost because it wants to be here tomorrow. So this means it's saying, look, if you want to use our platform, be aware, for whatever reason, we now have the right to remove anything that you put out there, and we don't need to give you a reason as to why. So it kind of makes sense. It's Facebook's platform. It can do what it wants, but, it does add an element of whatever happened to free speech. And that's kind of the conversation that's been going on around the place. So this is something to be aware of. I don't think this is likely to massively affect any of you. However, if you are one of those people who likes to get a bit opinionated, you're a bit of a conspiracy theorist, or you might be based in America and you're doing a lot of political posting right now, just be aware that you could find yourself in that position where either you get flagged, your page might get flagged, or you might just see content removed. And I'm actually seeing a lot of this at the moment where people have shared posts that suddenly have a little banner that say this content is no longer available. That's usually content that Facebook has simply pulled down. Now, this often gets checked not by humans, but by bots. So what they're looking for are particular words and phrases. So, for example, the use of the word COVID-19 will tend to get flagged and assessed depending on how it's been used. A lot of posts using the word COVID or even words that relate to the elections are going to get flagged and picked up. So just be aware of it. It's something that I think is good for us to have in the backs of our minds. Facebook is very much focused on positive content. It wants people to leave the platform feeling better than they did coming in. So if you can help it do that, then you're pretty safe. In fact, it's likely to push your stuff out to more people because it is so focused on that community aspect, the building people up, the positivity. So if you can be a part of that journey, you can help build people up, create community, create healthy conversation, you're winning. Okay, so that is number 3. That's the change or the addition to the terms of service that came about on the 1st of October. So let's have a little bit of a look at another one of the changes that have happened that is going to be affecting so many of you right now. And you've probably already noticed it if you've had this rolled out and you've gone, what's the deal here? So if you have got a business page on Facebook and you've done what we've told you to do in the Social Media Quick Start 2020 course, we tell you to download the Facebook Pages Manager app to your mobile phone. And we tell you to do that because it gives you the ability to manage your Facebook page quickly and easily using a free app that doesn't take you through your personal profile. So it doesn't have that distraction of your personal profile on Facebook. And it gives you some really great little tools you can quickly use to manage your business page. However, Facebook has just changed. Shock horror. So now your Pages Manager app, which used to be a little orange flag, is being phased out and it is changed to the Business Suite. So what is the Business Suite? Well, it's a merge to move Instagram and Facebook closer together. So most of you would know, and if you don't, doesn't matter, but Facebook owns Instagram. So although they were competing platforms, and hey, you know what? If you can't beat them, join them. Facebook a few years back went, well, Instagram's growing, so we might as well buy it. And they did. So Facebook bought Instagram. This means that although they've been operating as separate platforms and they're very different platforms with different purpose, different demographic, it's also trying to make it easier for people to manage both of their pages on both platforms simultaneously. So what it's trying to do is create a bit of a crossover where people are using both Facebook and Instagram for both personal use, but specifically business use. It wants people to be spending advertising money on both. It wants people to have business pages on both. It's trying to encourage the use of both platforms, but it's also trying to simplify that process. So what it's done is it's created the business suite, which is a single dashboard where you can manage both your business pages on Facebook and your Instagram pages or profiles as well simultaneously. So it's going to allow you to post, to message, to check your insights, even to advertise and view everything in the one place. So one of the great things about this is I've often told you guys not to tick the box when you go to post on Instagram, not to tick the box to share a post from Instagram across to Facebook, because essentially what you're doing by doing that is optimizing the post for one platform and not considering the other. However, there's been a slight change. The business suite allows you to simultaneously post to both platforms. And although I tell you not to tick the box if you're posting to Instagram, it's okay if you make sure your post is optimized for both platforms to use the business suite to post to both. But what I will caution you of is to make sure that your posts are considering the use of each platform. So remember that Facebook is very much about information first, image second, whereas Instagram is the reverse. It's all about the image and the text is almost an afterthought. The other thing is that hashtags are more widely used on Instagram, should be less heavily used on Facebook. So, and of course, if you tag a business or a person or a product into Facebook or Instagram, it won't carry across to the other platform. So what this means is that you need to consider this in everything that you do. If you are posting exactly the same post on both Facebook and Instagram, just be aware that if you're using 30 hashtags, it's probably not advisable you post that to Facebook. Just let it go to your Instagram profile. So although the business suite allows you to simultaneously post across to both, there's a time and a place. So just make sure that you are considering how each platform should be best used to get you the most reach and the best outcome. By the way, just spending those extra few seconds to create a post specifically for a platform is a very good use of your time, because you are likely to reach a lot more people than you will if you create a post for Facebook that really is best served on Instagram and vice versa. So the business suite has got some great little features in it. I'm not so sure about the icon. I'm so used to the old one. So when I go to the app on my phone, it's kind of easily missed because it's not very bright and colorful anymore. It's just kind of a little blue circly C looking thing. So I haven't even paid attention to what the logo or icon is. I'm just kind of like, it's another Facebook change. So if you're wondering why you've been changed across, that's why. Just be aware though, one of the cool things is you can see all of your insights for both Facebook and Instagram together. You can also message see your messages and message from both platforms, which is great. So you don't sort of have to jump in and out of Instagram and Facebook. You can manage everything within the business suite. So from that perspective, it's a great new little feature. Okay, so that brings me to the fifth change that for me is like huge. I have been telling you guys for 2 years that this is coming. When it got announced 2 years ago, I knew it would take a while, but I also knew what it meant. And I think for some of you, you're going to go, oh, really? For some of you, you're going to go, this is so exciting. You ready? There has been an update where you are now able to do sponsored ads in groups. So I said to you guys a couple of years ago that I predicted that Facebook was going to bring in an option for you to advertise within groups, which is why I encouraged you to build your groups in advance, ready for these cool features. This essentially means you're going to be able to start running adverts within groups you manage. Now, there is a little but. The but is this hasn't been rolled out for everybody, and not all of your groups are currently going to be available for you to access. So just be aware, if there's some group, if you go into the advert manager on Facebook and you can't see some of your groups, it's one of two things. Either you've got multiple ad accounts and you need to check which ones have got which groups attached to them, or number two, you don't have the feature yet. So don't panic. It is rolling out. I believe this is something that is currently being tested in a way, and I would really encourage you not to abuse this at this point. Don't go over the top with it. I still encourage you to get engagement organically first and foremost without paying for it. Because if you're not getting people to interact for free, then using adverts is not going to help you at all. So it's a great feature. It's got so many possibilities. And they're doing this because I believe they're trying to move people from using solely business pages to promote their business, but move it into private communities where things are maybe slightly less public, but also we can create that healthy community environment. And groups have been used more and more and more over the years. They're becoming such a great place for people to connect and create that healthy community. So Facebook is putting so many features into groups. It's constantly evolving and updating, and it really has a strong focus on that community aspect at the moment. And we can see that in all of these changes that they're making. Mostly across the board here, a lot of these changes are related to building that healthy community environment. You can sort of see that pattern coming through. So they are the 5 key changes that you need to be aware of in 2020 that I think are going to affect all of you in some way, shape, or form. Just to roll back through them. Number 1 was the move to the new FB5, the new Facebook that I think all of you would be pretty aware of. Number 2 is that you do need to manage your business page using Creator Studio now if you want to have access to a lot of those tools like scheduling, etc. Number 3 is the new addition to the terms of service, essentially meaning that Facebook has the right to remove any content at any time for no real reason, protecting itself from any mitigation or legal issues as well. Number 4 was the new business suite, which has taken over from Facebook Pages Manager app. So get in and check that one out. And number 5 was the very huge news that we now have access to advertising within our Facebook groups. So this is all both exciting, frustrating, challenging, all of the above. I'm really excited to see how you guys are finding all of these changes. Who's got what? I'd love to hear your feedback. I'd love for you to comment on our page or even send us an inbox message if you've got a question or a challenge or you want to know a little bit more. Remember as well, guys, that we do have a brand new webinar on, which is a 30-minute power session on the 3 key highest income producing activities you can be doing on Facebook and Instagram right now to grow your direct selling business. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure that you do. We've got loads of sessions coming up. We'd love to have you jump in and check that one out. It is specifically for direct sellers. We focus this training on the industry, but get in and check that one out. Otherwise, drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. And if you've got something you'd like to hear about on this podcast, maybe there's something specific you would love to hear a little bit more about, we would love to hear your thoughts. This podcast is about helping you. So I'd love to hear what matters the most to you right now. If there's something you want to learn more about, if there's a particular topic you'd like us to focus a bit more on, maybe even revisit something that we've done in the past, or you might have a favorite person that we interviewed over the last few months you'd love to see come back. Drop us a line. We'd love to hear from you. But in the meantime, guys, have a really amazing week. Make sure that you are taking care of yourself above all, and God bless, and we'll see you again on the podcast again next week. Have an amazing day.